I say this with love. You are banned from ChatGPT. Hi, I'm Adrianne, and welcome to the All Matt's Taken Yoga Business podcast. And yes, I said this to a client and fellow yoga teacher that I'm running ads for the other day. I was having a look at how we could further tweak and optimize the funnel. When getting it set up, I asked her to write a welcome series, and she said she did it, and I trusted that it was done well, as this is not her first rodeo. Then I looked and I read it, and clearly ChatGPT had written the whole thing. And she said, okay, fair. I thought it was pretty good though. And I was like, you're not wrong. They are great writers. But there are just telltale signs now that something's been written by a bot. Even if you've trained it to sound like you, I still think it's a little bit obvious sometimes because there's some things that they just can't let go of. And if you notice them, then you'll see them everywhere. And I did an episode back in July last year on 7 ways to identify AI writing in 2025, and that's definitely still relevant today. So if you are curious and you're sometimes wondering if you see it or not, once you listen to that episode and notice the examples, you'll see them absolutely everywhere. So this is really good to just identify it in people that you are following, but also if you are using AI, definitely go back and check out that episode. Because for those of us in the wellness industry, I think it is especially important that we keep that human connection in the customer-facing portion of our businesses, because it helps to build trust, especially if you're a small business owner, and people trust and buy from people, not bots. Now, don't get me wrong, I think that AI can be a massively powerful tool for us as small business owners. You will have heard me talk about this before if you're a regular listener to the show. It really can help take some of that pressure off certain tasks, but when it comes to writing, please use it as an editor or to create draft templates with ideas and prompts of what to write. You can even get it to tell you why it's asking you to do these things if you're making a sales page template or something, which can be a really great learning tool for helping learn sales psychology as well. But at the end, the story should be yours, the language is yours, and just the energy is yours. So being the new year and a time where we tend to naturally reflect, if you have been using ChatGPT or another AI to write your client communications, be honest. Are you editing it to really sound like you? Are you using it in the best way to connect with your people, or are you just using it to cut corners because you maybe A, don't enjoy the writing, B, don't have time for it, or C, aren't confident in it? So today I would like to explore this idea of time. I have been thinking about time a lot the last few weeks and how I should be spending it. And in the last episode, I spoke about forming goals and good habits for the year ahead and how I'm still working out what I want to focus on this year, because I have too many things that I am interested in and time is more finite than ever now. And I'm a mother to a very energetic toddler, and he's also always awake. So I have to be so much more mindful of time than I ever have been before. And I realize how much time that I have spent wasting before when I was not a mother yet. I also went on holiday traveling with him since the last episode, which was absolutely wonderful, and it gave me more time to listen to other podcasts and contemplate while we were driving, and he was asleep in the back seat, which I very much treasured this time to just get to listen. I listened to several episodes of Diary of a CEO podcasts in full. If you're not familiar with them, these are 2.5 hour podcasts, so it's a time investment for sure, including the recent one with Chris Williamson, which was focused on productivity. The thing I took away from this episode, or it could have been the episode with James Clear from Atomic Habits, I can't quite remember. I listened to both of those. is that if you want to add something, you need to take something away, because we only have a finite amount of energy in each day. And this was discussed in both of these episodes as well. So you have to allocate it wisely. So while the last episode I was talking about more so adding things in terms of like habits, this episode I wanted to discuss removing things. So we can create time for things that really matter, because we can't just keep adding and adding and adding. We are human after all, and there is only so much time, and time is really precious. And I think a big part of this conversation revolves around priorities. So, in the example I led with where my client was using ChatGPT for her welcome emails, she admitted she doesn't love those, but also I know that she is super busy and she has a lot going on personally as well, and she's just time poor. But the catch-22 is that one of the solutions to helping her be more time rich is going to be growing her membership, which I am helping with the ad side of things. And this will help take some of the pressure off doing all these really time intensive income roles that are currently burning her out a little bit. So she does have more time for the family and more time for her community. But the problem is the membership isn't going to grow if people's first impression is that bot. So something has to give to make a little bit of a space and create a better, more personalized emails. And now we have to move that up the chain of priority, if this makes sense. So another question that I really liked from the interview with Chris was that he says, ask yourself, if your life were a movie, what question would the audience be screaming at you to do or not to do? And I think that's a really great question to ponder for yourself for self-reflection. But maybe if you're absolutely lost, then you can ask someone who knows you well. If you're open to that kind of honest feedback, they might just have the answer waiting right there for you. For me, in my own life, I've made gut health and restoration a huge focus for this year. In the last 6 years, I have had two massive antibiotics dosages, one to heal pneumonia, and then the other was when I was pregnant and my appendix burst, and that was like IV 10 days hospital. So it was a lot. And I am very grateful for both of these incidences in saving my life, but I definitely noticed the long-term impacts on my body after them. So I have been studying gut health, gut microbial health a lot, and I've begun with the Dr. William Davis regime to help recover my body. So if this episode seems a bit chaotic, it's probably from that, because he says it is very common to go through a low point before you build up the new healthy bacteria and see results. And I'm very early on in this process. The other thing is I need to prioritize sleep. It's ironic because I guide yoga nidra, and I know that sort of deep rest, deep sleep is so important. But the reason I guide yoga nidra is because of my long-term struggles with insomnia. Also, working evenings once my son goes to bed just is not working at all anymore. It is summer here and he goes to sleep far too late, and I am just burning the candle at both ends, and it's ruining me. I am not at my peak in anything that I am doing. So I am organizing a couple days a week where he can be in care with my family now that he's a bit older, so that I have some time during the day to exercise and work. It is not going to be much. I'm still going to be working nights, but hopefully it'll take that pressure off that I'm not working so late at night, she says at 10:30 p.m. recording this podcast episode. But one interesting thing about gleaning clarity around priorities and how much time you have to allocate to each thing is that it's then easier to say no when something tries to intervene. So I had someone hustle me onto a sales call for podcast SEO. They've been trying to get me on for months now, and the times just don't align. I am interested to hear what they have to say, but finally they gave up and decided to just ask me some questions through email. So one of the things they asked me was like, what's holding you back? And I said 100% time is a huge factor in keeping the show held back in terms of how much I can market it and work on it. And they said, okay, so if you don't have much time, are you happy to keep things stagnant then? And honestly, my answer is easily just yes, straight up. It's not ideal, but if growth means spending more time that I don't actually realistically have on this right now, and it's the same for my yoga business this year, then yes, the answer is yes, it's okay that it is in maintenance mode. I have time to keep it where it is, but growth requires so much more that I literally just don't quite have right now. And this brings me to social media. I mentioned in the last episode my relationship with social media is not healthy the way I would like it to be. And I was listening to, as I mentioned, this Chris Williamson episode before the recent, within the last couple days, controversy erupted about this episode. If you've read about it, it's all over social media at the moment. As someone who listened to the whole 2.5 hours, I really don't see what the fuss is about, to be honest. It seems just very massively overblown to me, and people have taken offense to one sentence in the entire episode. Maybe I'm missing something, but I have read a few of the outrage articles out of curiosity as to what was going on because I listened to it. And it seems to be that there's just a lot of childless women who don't want children getting offended about a comment that there is a current movement in our society of pushing people to not want children or families. And don't get me wrong whatsoever. I have no issue with anyone deciding to not have children. They are a lot of energy. That is everyone's choice. You do you. And there is a movement within our society against people having children, and there's this sort of idea that somehow children will hold you back, and I guess in certain ways they will, but in other ways they are just an amazing teaching, beautiful life lesson that we only get to experience once if we go through it. And again, nothing wrong with either scenario, but it was actually covered as well by these two men that don't have children, that it's people's choices. So this whole saga kind of confirmed to me another point that social media just really isn't a healthy place to be spending my time, because it is full of people looking for things to just get riled up about to get clicks. That's the thing. The points that I've read in the articles that people are outraged about do not equal the entire content of that. All of the takeaways of that episode, of a 2.5 hour episode, and they're getting very angry about one small little thing that, to me, I think they're just taking it the wrong way, but hey, I could be wrong. So the problem though is that there's no room for discussion or debate, especially when people tend to get into this group mentality, and social media is this perfect place for groupthink to take place. Not only do people turn into keyboard warriors and get frankly extremely abusive to those not like-minded in their own circles, but creators can delete anything that doesn't align with what they've said in their beliefs. So then people viewing these posts can then get into this unhealthy curated ecosystem where they think and feel that everyone is on the same page as them and believes the same thing as them. And it's just this very weird them versus us dynamic without allowing anyone to ask questions or be open to genuine discussion. And I think not being open to alternative opinions on any topic and getting really emotionally tied up in a particular belief or idea so strongly that you aren't actually capable of understanding an alternative perspective is just super unhealthy. And I'm not saying you have to agree with the alternative perspective, but you should be able to logically consider what the other person has to say and be able to put yourself, in their shoes and try to see their point at least, like be able to listen rather than just getting tied up emotionally. And after you've listened to their point, you can then evaluate your stance based on new information, if there was any new information brought to light, and make an informed decision from there, which may or may not involve you changing your mind. You may listen and think, no, they're ridiculous, I'm right. But maybe if you are open enough, you might actually think, interesting point. Like that does change the way of thinking about it, or maybe I did perceive what you were trying to say wrong in the first place, or anything. Like, this process doesn't openly happen in our current society, and it's especially bad in social media land. We should be questioning absolutely everything. We learn this in yoga, and yet in this niche on social media, it can be one of the most toxic communities to be in. But anyway, that is my rant. I let myself have it for this episode. As I said, it's a slightly more unhinged episode because of my current sort of detoxing zone. But the point is, I have realized that social media is just such a massive energy drain for me. And I pivoted in the last month from thinking yes, this is my year. I'm finally going to crack social media and make it work. And I'm really interested in that, to just get off, get away as much as I can for just my personal sanity. And it's probably a massive business mistake, but I just don't have a healthy relationship with it right now, and I need to develop one before I can step foot in this zone again. So I am choosing to spend my finite time at this very moment and my energy elsewhere. And the thing is, that's okay. Everything doesn't always have to be in this hustling mode or growth mode. Sometimes it's about maintenance. Sometimes family and health trumps your dreams. And putting your dreams on hold or on the back burner doesn't mean you've failed. If anything, giving them space to breathe so that you can come back when you have more space and time and energy to dedicate to them is actually a gift, rather than them just sort of slowly, they're not going to just slowly kind of strangle and lose hope under a web of pressure when everything else is pulling us in different directions. We can give them room to just grow and rest, which is what we learn in this practice. I'm a yin yoga teacher. Hustle doesn't align with that mentality the more and more I kind of dive into it. And I do not mean for this to sound like or come across as any kind of downer in growing your yoga business. At the end of this episode, my intention is more radical honesty. The gift of being really clear about our priorities is not that we have to sacrifice some of the things we want. It's that we can create more space for deeper connection with the things that we love and desire the most. For example, by removing my poor social media habits, which usually sparks when I'm in bed with my son while he sleeps, I have replaced it with reading. That is my aim most of the time, and I've been pretty successful so far. And now I get to read more and smash these books that I've been wanting to consume for so long. And maybe you're listening to this and you are thinking yes, 100% the priorities this year is to build my business. I am ready to commit. But if you're feeling a little bit drained or you are chasing growing your business out of desperation to escape something else or prove something, then I think it's time to pause and just be honest about that and sit with that and just reevaluate what you are really passionate about doing and what you want to spend your time doing, because we only have so much time on this planet and we can't commit to everything at any one time. So just because maybe for me now it's family doesn't mean that I won't be still working on the business section in another time and space when my son is a little bit older and he can have more time away from me, for example. So I put together a few questions that I invite you to sit with if that feels aligned. The first one is, why are you building what you're building? What went well last year? What didn't go well? What can you improve on this year? And what needs to be let go of to make space for what is working. And you can apply those to like your whole life or just focus in only on your business, whatever you would like. So, for example, like maybe your in-person classes just like pop, but you can't seem to translate that into the online space. So, what can you focus on being 1% better at to see growth in that area if you have time to do it and if it is genuinely a priority for you? And most importantly, if your life were a movie, what would the audience be screaming at you to do or not to do right now? Once you've answered these, pick one or two things to subtract. And if you need to, add one or at very most two things to add. But for everything you subtract, you can add something. And if you're currently overloaded, then you might just need to subtract. So not 4, not 5, just 1 or 2. So, for example, maybe what needs to go is posting daily on Instagram. It's not pushing you forward and it's taking away time from writing like one really good email to your list each week. And that's a trade. So, you need to prioritize depth over daily. And I do not mean to pick on Instagram here. I think Instagram is an absolutely amazing, powerful platform for growth, but if your social media growth game is compromising the time to build those deeper connections with your audience, then what's the ultimate point in growth? Because you do need to start to build those deeper connections to then turn them into clients, so on and so forth. But on the contrary, if growth is your focus, then maybe you need to figure out a way of swapping scrolling with posting, becoming a creator. Maybe a scheduler is handy because it keeps you actually off the app. That is probably going to be my approach for when I feel like I'm getting my mojo back for attempting that whole wormhole again. So whatever you choose to focus on, remember to have it come from your heart, your soul, where your passion lies, because the thing you choose to focus on deserves your wholehearted attention. And if it's not getting it, then you need to ask yourself why. Is it that you're lacking time? Is it desire? Is it confidence? Is it motivation? How can you give it what it needs to flourish? And maybe that is that it just needs to be pushed aside for now while you focus on what you really need to focus on. And then when it's time, you can pick it back up. If it's something you really want to cultivate in your life and you have created this time and space for it to do so, be compassionate when you fall off sometimes. Please, just nothing's perfect. And from all of these episodes I've listened to and my own personal experience, resilience is the key among top performers. So don't, for example, vow to post every single day on social media, and then when you miss a day, you completely lose your rhythm and let it all fall apart. Can't tell you how many times I have done that. Instead, vow to always get back to it the next day. Some people say, like, don't miss 2 days, because there's always life's going to happen. Whatever it is, it's like our practice, right? Just always vow to like continually strive to just get back on track. And I think that building resilience for consistency is the key, and knowing that you're never going to have the most perfect thing. Life is always going to get in the way. But if you jump back on the bandwagon for whatever it is that you're working on, that consistency and that resilience, that is where your superpower is going to lie, and where you're going to see the ultimate results. Finally, I want to say that since you are listening to this podcast, I know that you have really big dreams and that you have chosen a path less trodden. You are an entrepreneur and you don't want to live a quote unquote normal life. And I absolutely commend you for that. I think it is brave and frankly admirable choice to choose your own path and work towards something that you believe in. And for that reason, I am not going to leave you with the classic advice of, and now tell someone your goals to help you hold yourself accountable and all of that. Because when you are trying to reach for something that most people aren't brave enough to attempt, you're going to get a lot of naysayers, and it can be really demotivating at times, especially when it comes from people that are really close to you. And I don't even just mean this for business-related goals. This could be health goals, like anything, all kinds of things that are just not the path that most people take, and a lot of people aren't even willing to try. So I commend you for doing it. But if you need to tell someone because you need help from them, or you know that it will help you by telling that person and keeping you accountable, do so. But you also have full permission just to keep your goals a secret. And if you don't have any like-minded people to support you and you would like to seek out a community, a lot of guests on the show have memberships. You can go and join and connect with fellow yoga teachers, go back and listen, find a mentor that aligns with your goals. You can also find links to communities and resources to help you build your yoga business at allmatstaken.com/resources, and I am always here. You can reach out to me as well. So thank you for spending your precious time with me here on the show. I very much deeply appreciate it, and I hope you found today's episode valuable, if not a bit chaotic. But I recently came across a couple of reviews that I couldn't see before due to my location. Apple is a bit weird with reviews and sort them by country, which is annoying, but thank you so much. I just wanted to say to Rebecca, who left a review saying, I love this podcast. Adrianne delivers such incredible, timely, and well-rounded solo episodes and guest interviews. I always walk away from Adrianne's podcast feeling seen and inspired. Thank you for all your effort in supporting yoga teachers. That is the nicest thing anyone could say to me. So thank you so much for Rebecca. Thank you for being a listener, and thank you so much for leaving that beautiful review. And also to Life's a Party, great name. She said, I'm so thankful to have found Adrianne Jerrett through the All Mats Taken Summit. I've binge listened to all of her podcasts, and this information is so valuable. Thank you for creating this podcast, and I look forward to learning more. Again, thank you so much, Life's a Party. That was beautiful. I deeply, deeply appreciate both of you for leaving those reviews on Apple. It helps other people find the show. So if you did find this episode, or just this show in general, because this episode was a little bit more chaotic than normal, and you haven't left a 5-star review for the show, please take a moment to do so wherever you listen to the podcast. It really, really helps others find the show and helps this show grow while my time is stagnant. So until next time, I hope you have a productive, timely, and absolutely joy-filled week. And thank you so much again for joining me today. Thank you for listening to the All Mats Taken podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit follow, like, subscribe on your podcast platform of choice, leave us a review, and share with a teacher friend. This really helps others find the show so we can continue growing our yoga-loving tribe. I am endlessly grateful for all your support. Have a beautiful day, and I'll see you next time.